understand that. We all have to
I
understand
agree
that
with that.
there's more to life than just the end when you die. Like there's more to what you're doing here today, and it matters. It's not
I
because
don't
you're been
necessarily
here
agree
for a
with that.
billion years. It's not because we've been here for a billion years that we don't matter anymore. We still matter today, and it's still important of what we do today.
Okay, you're
And that
preaching again.
I'm sorry, but that's the main objective. I think at the end of the day, like these principles or this way of looking at life ultimately limits your potential to understand that there's more that you can do to affect the people
that
and the world around you.
that's the, a scientific way of thinking does not stifle human progress. It does the exact opposite of that. This was brought up like way at the beginning when you first joined, because you kind of alluded to that. But that could not possibly be farther from the truth.
I would disagree. I believe most humans nowadays don't even know who they are. They're all lost in their phones.
Okay, but that's
I think
completely
that I
different
think that most
from
of the world doesn't even know
from
how to think.
knowing
If
things.
you look at the people from even 600 years ago or even during the
This
time of
is
the Renaissance, right? Let's talk about the time of the
completely
Renaissance. You
subjective.
look, no, it's not completely subjective. You look at any let's say Da Vinci. Da Vinci was not only an artist, he was a physicist as well. He drew up diagrams of flying machines, right? He
That
could
wouldn't have
do
worked, but yeah.
but I'm saying that the idea of thought, reading, even if you look up like Marcus Aurelius, the way that man spoke, and that was a Roman emperor, I'm pretty sure, to over 2,000 years ago, and he spoke more eloquent than any human being I have spoken to today. And you're going to tell me that we've advanced more? Certain people have advanced more. Absolutely. Absolutely. There's certain people that carry
What
the rest of
kinds of things
humanity.
are you interested in? Because we die of diseases at a slower rate than ever. We live longer than ever. We're embroiled in pointless conflict less than at any point in human history. We are safer from natural disaster and
I just
disease. Well,
don't.
I already
I
brought
just
up
think that we
diseases,
got
but we're
better at
safer
being
from that than
controlled.
at any point in history. We are less ignorant than at any point in history. Like the philosophical point that you're making, like, well, in the process of discovering the universe, we have lost ourselves. Sure, like that's really subjective. I mean, I don't know if you have a point or not. We did, achieve the Enlightenment, and the United States set up the world's first secular republic, which has been the cornerstone, the blueprint for like success around the world ever since that point. It was a monumental achievement. But if you ask me, it's no accident that that came after the scientific revolution.
I would argue that the ability to allow more humans to live on the planet has actually detriment us more,
Okay, who do you
and it's
think needs
opened
to
the
die
door
then?
to more. It's open to
Who
more
needs to
diseases that
die?
we have to
Give
cure.
me a
What was that?
list. Who needs
Who
to
needs
die
to
then?
die? No,
Yeah.
no, absolutely not. I'm not saying people need to die. I just think sometimes
You
we
said there's
fight
too many
we
of
fight
us and
we
it's
fight
and
a
it's made us
natural we fight a
worse.
natural
So,
course sometimes, and we try to play a position that isn't really fit for us to play in the world. Like we think that we can decide when somebody. So you believe in evolution, right? But you think that we should let people survive past their time of living here and keep them
the
on it through
theory of
some
evolution, you
scientific
you
means,
cannot
right?
do is oughts with the theory of evolution. Okay, that's what eugenicists did, and it's.
I'm not genociding anybody.
I
What I'm
know that. I didn't say genocide. I said eugenicists.
Oh, okay, sorry.
So you're making like an is ought fallacy. The theory of evolution doesn't tell us what we should do with people when they become geriatric at all. Okay, it does not do that.
Nobody does, and then they end up in wherever they go, right? But what I'm trying to say is that it's not for us to decide. We at some point we've taken away the natural course of life, the way that it should be, and we
Okay, so
put it
how
into
should
our hands
people die? From
naturally.
malaria?
No, people should die naturally.
What does
If
that
that
mean?
if that's
Malaria
the
is
means,
natural. You get it from mosquitoes. Well, you get it from an
okay,
amoeba inside of mosquitoes, but you know.
I understand that. And I'm saying that right now we're at a point where you're looking at it like because there's 8 billion people on the planet. We're already way past that point, right? But if there was a lot less people on the planet, then the chances that most people would get malaria would not be as high. And
No, that's
unfortunately,
so
if
untrue.
people,
We are on the way to eradicating malaria, which is the deadliest disease in human history. Hi, Parker people. And that could
also
only
most
have
diseases
happened
were
in a
made
world where there
by
are a
man.
lot of people. Because in a world with a lot of people, you have a lot of minds and you have a lot of networks interacting, and you build up, for example, political systems and capital and whatever else that feeds the ability to be able to solve these kinds of problems. A long time ago, when there weren't that many human beings, it wasn't economically viable to have people sitting around just solving like problems that are way out there. Everybody had to expend all their energy to make clothes and grow food and build shelter and try to prevent the next war or something like that. In the modern world, thanks to science and thanks to a large population, we've gotten to the point where one person has the mechanical power of 1,000 of our predecessors, and so the ability to make resources and capital and all kinds of stuff from that has allowed us to be able to go after like these unknown scientific endeavors, right? Like curing diseases and unlocking the atom and figuring out what the hell DNA is and so on and so forth. So, only in a world with billions of people could we ever have started to figure out what malaria is, how to cure it, and then we are on our way to eradicating it. We've eradicated polio, for example. That could, smallpox. That could never have happened in a world of 500 million human beings, because if all of them maximized all of their efforts to do whatever they are capable of doing, it would not remotely come close to what we have today.
And I understand what you're saying, of course, man. And like, I'm not trying to, take away from the advancement of humans or science. I just, at a point, I feel like science sometimes it's taken too far, and mainly that's what I'm just trying to get across.
Like what though?
Like for example, right now, people talking about human augmentations, implanting chips into people's minds, like
Okay,
people
that's an
becoming.
is-ought thing again.
What is that? I mean, how so?
You
Like,
can't derive what we should do from, like, you can't take what we know and then use that to be like, well, that tells us what we should do. Like science unlocked the secrets of atoms and the nucleus. Now, with that knowledge, we made atomic bombs, which is probably the dumbest thing we've ever done, but we also have developed the nuclear power plant, which is probably the only thing in the foreseeable future that can rescue us away from the pollution and emissions of fossil fuels, right? So we have one of the maximally goodest things and one of the maximally worst things that have come out of the exact same kind of knowledge. But science can't tell you which of those you're supposed to do or anything like that. So like I get the augmentation thing
and that's where I'm saying
and whatever, but
the
there's
Bible
nothing
kicks
telling
in,
us that
you know
we
what I
should
mean?
like you have to just be like, well, let's just stop learning. You know,
No,
like
that's where I'm saying
and
that
I know that
religion
you
does
won't
kick in.
accept that. If I asked you the question
No,
as, what was the point in history where we knew the most and we should, or when we knew when we knew what we should have known and learning new things would have just made it worse, and so we should have just cut it off right there. That obviously doesn't exist, right? But also earlier you were arguing that the Egyptians knew more than we did, so they must have lost
pretty
themselves
advanced.
worse than we did. Maybe that's why they
Who knows?
collapsed.
Who knows what happens to them? Who knows what happened to them? Maybe they were flooded out.
God knows.
God knows exactly, and that's what I'm trying
That
to
was
get across at
sarcasm,
the
but
end of the day. I understand, but that's really the ultimate truth: is that God does know, and He always will. And
it's
the
the
main
ultimate
thing here
hypothesis.
is
It's not the
that's
ultimate
great.
truth.
But if we people did have the Bible at that time when they were researching atoms, they would have known not to create a nuclear or atomic bomb. You know what I mean? And this is where
Hold on, that's still
What?
the same
becomes
thing that he just
more.
We
said that
did
we can't do.
we did have Bibles when we built the
No,
atomic
and if that
bomb. It
person
was
had
in
been
the it
actually
was in the
reading or
40s.
reading and showing and living through that, what he was reading at that time, then that would not have happened
Which
because that was
which of
again
the
the
commandments
higher
is
conscience that
thou
we all
shall
have
not
inside of ourselves.
enrich plutonium?
Oh, that's the 11th one.
Is that the
shalt not
11th
kill.
one?
That's the 11th, yeah. But thou shalt not kill.
Sure, but that's
Okay.
the thing.
There's a
You're
lot of killing
trying
in
to
the
apply a
Bible.
morality
I don't want
to
to
the
start talking
decision.
about the Bible now all of a sudden, but
But like with science itself, though, it
But
sounds
it's,
like you're trying to apply some kind of human emotion to discovery, right? And like that's the thing. Discoveries are not inherently good or bad. It's how they're used. People are the problem, not science itself.
yeah, humans are terrible people.
yeah, I guess that's the root of it, huh? We all just need to be better.
But humans are the only reason anything happens, for good or for bad. So I think we'll probably leave it there. If you want to come back anytime, so, like, please be my guest. But I have a lot of people that are waiting.
I understand, dude. It was a pleasure talking. We took a lot of time.
Oh yeah, you're very welcome.